welcome to my channel. Oh, are you gonna start crying? I haven't posted in a while because I had my baby. So this is little baby TJ, which stands for Thomas James. He's named after a couple of people in our family, but oh, you don't like sitting like that. He is about 6 weeks old now, and he likes to be held all the time, so he takes a lot of attention, but I mean, he's just a few weeks old. It's not his fault. I will say it's been very exhausting. This transition into being a family of three, I feel, or no, five, three kids, family of five. I'm a little sleep deprived, but the transition to two kids seemed much easier. And I think it's because my oldest was already pretty old. So now we have an infant and a toddler, and those both have many challenges that come along with both of those things, and they're different challenges. And we also have a preteen, so it's just all three of them are in such different stages of life. I feel like it makes it hard. You kind of have to treat them all differently, but we are figuring it out. A couple weeks after he was born, we had Christmas. And then a week after that, we had Emma's birthday. And then since then, we've been dealing with a lot of like snow days and crazy weather. So I feel like it's been hard to settle into a normal schedule and routine, but we're getting there slowly but surely. You want to stay asleep? So today I just wanted to do a little update, which I guess I kind of already did, and just share a quick birth story. So I did take a vlog, or make a vlog of like Christmas week, which I know that was almost a month ago. I don't even know if it's like worth it to post it, but I think I'll post it anyway. And then I posted, or I took a video of Emma's birthday party. It was her second birthday. She had a Minnie and Mickey themed party. It was very simple. It was only a few weeks postpartum at that point, but I wanted to make sure she had a special little party too. So I will post that as well. It'll probably be pretty short, but and then from here on out, I don't know, hopefully I'll get into some sort of regular posting schedule. I've been posting some updates on Instagram, so go follow me over there if you're interested. I hardly have any followers, so I'd love it if you would follow me there. Anyway, I'll put my name on the screen just in case. But anyway, the birth story with TJ. So my first two births, my first one I was induced, and it took literally 36 hours, and it was miserable, and my body just wasn't ready. My second was the complete opposite of that. My water broke before any contractions started or anything. So I feel like that alone made it just go really smoothly. We went to the hospital. I got the epidural before I was in too much pain, and there weren't too many complications. She came, it took 11 hours, but that was my shortest labor, so it didn't feel that long. So she was easy. He was kind of in between the two, I would say. So it was almost 40 weeks. I had been having contractions for months, and I had been having like false labor for a few times during the past week, but I usually can tell because I know the contractions don't get stronger, they don't really get closer together, but it was kind of a mind game in those last few weeks, like trying to figure out, is this gonna turn into real labor, or is this just false labor again? So it was December 7th, and I was going through the bedtime routine, getting my daughters ready for bed, and I'm noticing my contractions are feeling a little bit stronger. As the night's going on, I am kind of having a hard time doing anything during the contractions, and they're 5 minutes apart, and they're lasting about a minute, which if that goes on for an hour, that's usually when they tell you to go to the hospital. So I called the hospital and told them what was going on, and they kind of said, you can wait and labor at home if you want, or you can come in. It's up to you. So I'm like, I called you to tell me if I should come in or not, and you're telling me it's up to me. But we live 40 minutes from the hospital, so we decided to go ahead and go in. And as I'm in the car making the drive to the hospital, or not, my husband was driving obviously, but the contractions were coming like stronger. It felt like I thought for sure, like, oh, this is definitely the real thing. So we get to the hospital, they put us in a triage room, and they kind of get us all checked in and check everything out. And I'm only 1 centimeter dilated, which I had been for the past like 2 weeks. And I was so frustrated. So they told us, you know, you can hang out for a few hours if you want, and we'll check you again, see if you've made any progress, or you can go home. And I was scheduled for an induction probably like 4 days later anyway. So they're like, and we'll see you in a few days. Well, I'm thinking in my mind, like, I don't think you're gonna see me in a few days. Like, I've had 2 babies before. These are real contractions. And I knew they were real contractions, but I wasn't going to argue with them. So I was like, all right, well, we'll wait it out and see. So it was literally like all night. Nobody checked on us for hours and hours. We were starting to freak out, like, what is going on? Why is no one checking on us? It turns out they were just like it was a really busy night in the labor and delivery unit, which happens every time I have a baby, it seems like. But yeah, so they finally came in. I was still having contractions this whole time, but I think because I was laying down and not moving, they weren't getting any closer together. So they were still, for these hours and hours and hours, they were still 5 minutes apart. So they checked me to see if I had progressed at all, and I was at 2 centimeters at that point. So, I was having some high blood pressures. I had preeclampsia with my last 2 pregnancies. So they decided to admit me, thank goodness, because she said again, she's like, we could let you go and we'll see you Tuesday. And it annoyed me so much because in my head I'm like, you are not going to see me Tuesday. I'm gonna end up back here later tonight if you send me home, because I could tell, you know, this wasn't my first baby. I could tell I was in labor, but whatever. So they end up admitting me. It was kind of sad because it was my oldest daughter's Christmas program at school, and I did have to miss that, but they streamed it live. So I'm sitting there in the hospital bed having contractions in my room. Luckily they had moved us to a room at this point and started Pitocin, and I was just sitting there watching her Christmas program on my phone. So I just thought that was funny. I think I'll always remember that. So anyway, they started Pitocin. I didn't want the epidural quite yet because they weren't I could still handle the contractions. I had gotten an epidural with my past 2 pregnancies. I knew I wanted to get one again. It was just a matter of when. I have a very low pain tolerance. So I asked the nurse, I was like, will it be a long time once I ask for the epidural? Does it usually take a long time? Because I remember in the past, I feel like it had taken a while. And she said, oh no, maybe like 10 minutes. And so I was like, okay. And that's what I had in my mind. So as the morning's going on, they had started the Pitocin, and the contractions are getting pretty strong a couple hours in. I don't know if my second labor, I did not need Pitocin, and the other 2 I did, and the difference in the pain level of the contractions is unbelievable. The Pitocin just like kicks it up a notch, and it was starting to get really hard to like breathe through the contractions. So I called the nurse in and I told her I was ready for the epidural. Well, the next hour, it was actually an hour and 15 minutes before anybody else came back in the room. I think was the longest hour of my life. Those contractions got stronger and stronger and stronger, and it probably was the same pain level as with my first, because I had, like I said, I had Pitocin then too, but it was like the worst pain of my life. I just could barely breathe through them. You just feel so helpless. And with the Pitocin, there's not much time in between contractions, so you don't get a lot of like downtime to just breathe and collect yourself. And every minute just felt like it was dragging on, and the nurse hadn't come back in. Nobody had come back in to like update me, and I'm just like, where is the anesthesiologist? Like, I would do anything for an epidural right now. So finally, after an hour and 15 minutes, they come in, the anesthesiologist and the nurse come in and start prepping me for the epidural. And if you've ever had an epidural, you know it's not just like immediate. You have to sit kind of hunched over the bed. You cannot move. And he was like up in my ribs too. I'm really short, so I like curling around. I just remember just the pain in my ribs was so intense, especially every time I had a contraction. And she did something wrong and had to like insert it twice, and it just felt like it was going on forever. But we finally got the epidural, and after that, everything felt so much better, so much more bearable. But I feel like something went wrong with the epidural, and I still don't know what it was. And I've heard of people getting an epidural where it only works on half of their body, like the left side or the right side. But it was almost like, I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me because I don't know why it would work from the waist up. But that's what it felt like. It felt like I didn't feel any contractions like in my stomach area anymore, but I could still move my legs and stuff, which with my other two epidurals, I was like, my legs were useless. They were just like dead weight. Am I scaring you? But yeah, like he ended up having, the cord was around his neck, and so every time I would have a contraction, his heart rate would just plummet. And the same thing happened with Emma too, and it's really scary when that happens. And I don't know the science behind it, but they end up like moving you around, turning you from side to side a lot when that happens. And I remember with Emma, the nurse and Luke literally had to like lift me up and like move me around. I was helpless, and this time I could almost do it myself. Like I had almost complete use of my legs. I don't know. And that you can push the button to like make the epidural a little stronger, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But it didn't seem like it was doing anything. And the nurse said sometimes the baby can be like on a nerve or something, and it'll just, the epidural, nothing you do is going to help. And I'm wondering if that might have been the case, or that doesn't make sense of why I had use of my legs. But like in my actual stomach, nothing hurt anymore. So I don't know, it's a mystery to me. So anyway, after I got the epidural, things were progressing, but they were still moving kind of slow. I had been at the hospital since 1 a.m. the night before, and it was around 1 p.m. That was probably a couple hours after I got the epidural. And things must not have been moving as quick as they wanted to. So a couple things happened because he was having his heart rate issues where it was just plummeting every time I had a contraction, which is so terrifying. Like I said, when you're just sitting there and there's nothing you can do about it, it's so scary. I always say the worst thing about labor is the fear that something is going to go wrong. I feel like that's even worse than the pain. But anyway, so I was freaking out a little bit about that, but I was trying to be calm. They ended up shutting off the Pitocin because apparently that's harder on the baby, which makes sense. And my body completely like took over labor on its own, and I didn't need any more Pitocin. My contractions kept coming regularly and everything without the Pitocin, so, which is good. I don't like to, anything that's not natural. It feels like it's better to not use it rather than use it. So I'm glad my body, I really do think I was in the early stages of labor when we got to the hospital anyway. So my body took over. I didn't need the Pitocin anymore. And then they decided to break my water. And my nurse had like 2 hours left on her shift. And she said something like, she's like, I think we're gonna have a baby before my shift is over. And I kind of wish she hadn't said that because we didn't have a baby before her shift was over. And it was kind of just like, oh, I'm just like so ready to have this baby. So they broke my water. They were expecting things to just pick up really fast after my water broke, which they didn't really, but I mean, they didn't slow down either. I feel like they were just going at the same pace. I was progressing at the same pace. And it was around this time the nurse said, if you start feeling pressure, let me know and we'll see if it's time to push or not. So, so for the next like 3 or 4 hours, maybe even more than that, it was just me the entire time feeling tons of pressure. Like I said, for whatever reason, I feel like I could feel everything from the waist down. I felt so much pressure. Like I can't even explain to you the amount of pressure that I was feeling. And I kept telling them, I kept saying, like, I feel like I need to push. I feel pressure. Like, I kept thinking, it must be time. It must be go time. And they kept checking. They're like, no, you're only 7 centimeters. You're only 8 centimeters. And it got to the point where it was excruciating for me because apparently he had been like really low, especially right at the end of the pregnancy. And he was like, I guess, in position, like ready to go, but I wasn't finished dilating yet. So I've heard of people who have babies in cars and stuff, and they're trying not to push, and their body just automatically starts pushing. And that's kind of what happened to me. So I was like, trying not to because they were telling me not to. They're like, it's not time yet, it's not time yet. And I'm like, I can't help it. And the pain and the pressure, I don't think that epidural was doing anything. I pushed the button a couple times, but it just didn't seem like it was working anymore. I don't know. Because with my other two, I could feel pressure and some pain, but not like this. It was just like enough to know when to push. With the other two, this time it was just like maybe worse. Maybe that was probably the worst pain of my life. So it felt like such a long time. The nurse kept moving me into all these different positions to help with his heart rate and to help me progress more. And finally, she's like, once it's time to push, I'm just gonna get the doctor in here as fast as I can. So it was just funny. I was just so done and so ready at this point. He was born at 6:08 p.m. and we had been at the hospital since 1 a.m. the night before. So I was just like, just done and ready, and just my body is pushing without me meaning for it to. I couldn't help it. And when I finally got when they finally got me like in position to push, it was one contraction, and I was pushing. I pushed like 1 or 2 times, and the doctor even told me, he's like, slow down, slow down. I'm like, I can't. I could not slow down. And so it was one contraction and he was here. So that was kind of nice because I've never had to like push for hours and hours like some people do, and I'm thankful for that because I think that would be excruciating. But it was kind of nice to just like one contraction and boom, he was here. Especially after just feeling like it had been a long time getting to that point. So it was kind of funny. It felt like it was just this slow build up, and then all of a sudden he was here fast and furious though once he was ready and once we got the go to push. So yeah, I think it happened like faster than the doctor was even ready for because the cord was wrapped around his neck and everything. But they got everything was fine. He was healthy, I was healthy. And it was just funny. I feel like I wasn't even quite in the right position because they had thrown me down on the bed and like put my legs up on these things. I don't even know what they are. So quickly, I was just at this weird position, and then they put him on me, but he was facing like out, so I couldn't see his face. But I wasn't in a position to try to move him around, so it was funny. I was just like kind of staring at the back of his head for the first few minutes, but then they kind of got him cleaned off, and we got to do skin to skin for an hour, and it was just amazing. I know anybody that's ever been through that experience knows it's just one of the biggest miracles like that you'll ever go through, just to have 9 whole months of worrying whether the baby's going to be okay or not, and then going through labor, for me at least, and for a lot of people, is terrifying because there's so many things that can go wrong. And then that moment where the baby's finally here and they put him on your chest, and you can just that like everything's okay. But yeah, it makes me teary eyed just thinking about it. But yeah, it was just amazing. I mean, words don't even do it justice. But and it's just kind of special because we know this is our last baby. So when our daughters came later that night to come meet him, it made my heart so happy because it was this weird feeling. It was like, this is us, this is all of us. Like, this is our whole family and we're complete. And after going through so many years of infertility, and never thinking I would have kids. And then after we had our first daughter, never thinking she would have siblings. And now she has 2 siblings, and we have 5 people in our family, and I still cannot always believe it. I can't believe I have an infant and a toddler and a preteen right now. And the timing wasn't how I would have planned it myself. I never planned on having a baby when I was almost 40, but that is how it happened, and I wouldn't have it any other way now. God's timing is perfect, and I just can't wait for our kids to grow up together, and I can't wait. I feel like it's just all beginning, and we have so many memories ahead of us, and I'm so thankful. Um, I just can't wait to see what's in store in the future. Oh, and it feels really good to close this chapter of my life. Like I said, I went through 2.5 years of infertility before my first daughter, then 6.5 before my second daughter. And he was just a little surprise miracle after all of that. But after all that infertility, which it just takes a toll on you, after that, after trying for so long to get pregnant, and after being pregnant a lot in the past 2 years, my youngest two are 2 years apart now, so it feels like I've been pregnant for a long time, like right in a row. I don't know. It almost feels like there was no break in between, even though there was. Um, but it feels good to shut that chapter of our lives, and it's bittersweet. It's sad that I'll never be pregnant again, but it's also not sad at the same time. I have rough pregnancies, and I'm not one of those people that loves being pregnant. So it just feels like, okay, we won't have those worries anymore. We won't have those experiences anymore, and we can move forward and just be a family and not worry about trying to get pregnant or being pregnant or having a baby anymore. Like that's all done. So it feels good. And like I said, we're settling in, figuring things out. It's been a challenge figuring out a needy infant and a toddler. Luckily, for a toddler, she's pretty easygoing. Um, so that's been great. But yeah, we're figuring it out as we go. And I feel like the infant stage is not my favorite. I'm trying to soak in every moment. I'm trying to enjoy it all, but it's not my favorite. I love it when they're like 3 or 4 months old and beyond, and they can they're not quite as needy, and you can start to know their personality a little bit more. So I look forward to that time, but I'm not trying to wish this time away either. So thank you guys so much for watching today. I will post those other videos that I talked about, the Christmas video and Emma's birthday video, and then from there on out, hopefully I'll be posting at least once a week. So thank you guys so much for watching today, and it's nice to be back after a little break. So subscribe if you want to keep up and see. Oh, we have a Disney trip on the book too. I should mention that. So thank you guys so much for watching. It feels good to be back, and subscribe for more videos like this one.